Hi guys, today I'm going to show you 3 of my all-time favourite rectangular watches and why I think the rectangular watches never go out of style. We are going to be looking at the vintage Piaget Protocole. This is the Lapis Lazuli. We will be looking at the Patek Philippe Gondolo. This is the Salmon dial. And we will also be looking at the Cartier Tank Solo Large. So, where did rectangular watches come from? What makes them so popular? And why do collectors love them so much? To understand rectangular watches, we need to go back over 100 years to the late 1800s, early 1900s. At this point in time, pocket watches heavily dominated the market, and naturally all of the movements and pieces for watches were therefore circular. Then wristwatches began replacing pocket watches during the First World War. Instead of simply shrinking a pocket watch to fit on your wrist, manufacturers had the freedom to suddenly design whatever shapes they wanted. And at almost exactly the same time, a new artistic wave was sweeping across Europe: Art Deco. The Art Deco movement celebrated geometric shapes, sharp lines, symmetry. Architecture became very angular, furniture became streamlined, and jewelry became very bold and also quite architectural. And naturally, watch design followed, where rectangular and square watches became symbols of sophistication and luxury. Owning a watch wasn't just about telling the time anymore, it was about the style that it created. So before anyone else, Cartier had already begun experimenting with square-shaped cases. The story goes that Louis Cartier's aviator friend, Alberto Santos Dumont, was getting tired of flying his plane and having to reach into his pocket watch every time he wanted to tell the time. Note that these were the planes back then, so you definitely want 2 hands on the wheels of these things. Listening to his friend, Cartier decided to create what is arguably known as one of the first specifically designed wristwatches, and he called it the Cartier Santos. Here are 2 that I have with me just to show you. As you can see, the design really hasn't changed that much. They've kept very much to the square shape, the exposed screws, and the classic Cartier look. After Cartier created the Santos in 1904, I think he realized he was onto something special, and he later released the Cartier Tank. Now, this didn't really start off as the recognizably long rectangle dial. It was originally a little more squarish, as you can see, but this was called the Tank Normal, released around 1917, and Louis Cartier supposedly took inspiration from the military tanks that were used in World War I, with the long parallel sides reflecting the tracks of the tanks. In fact, the first prototype was gifted to General John Pershing, who was the commander of the American Expeditionary Forces, as a token of appreciation for his leadership during the time, which just shows Cartier's appreciation and loyalty to the military and the men that fought very hard during World War I. The watch officially went on public sale in 1919, but it wasn't until the 1920s until the very recognizable rectangular shape really flourished in models such as the Tank Century and the Tank Louis Cartier. The Tank became a favoured luxury item, favoured by artists, politicians, famous people, including our very own Princess Diana, who loved the Art Deco design. A famous quote from the artist Andy Warhol goes like this: "I don't wear a tank watch to tell the time. In fact, I never wind it. I wear a tank because it's the watch to wear." This, I think, perfectly symbolizes the way that tanks were viewed in society at the time. And watches in general. Watches very quickly became something that people didn't use to tell the time. They became status symbols. and reflections of style. This particular example I would like to show you is the Tank Solo Large. Although introduced in the early 2000s, it stayed remarkably faithful to the original rectangular tank design. You immediately notice the clean rectangular proportions, the vertical sidebars that are flat on the top, the Roman numerals, the blue steel sword hands, and of course the famous blue synthetic cabochon set into the winding crown. These are one of those watches that you can instantly recognize on someone's wrist when you walk into a room. They are very iconic, very popular, lots of people want one, and yeah, they are just a great everyday watch. What is special about this watch in particular that I'm holding is this is a 2021 watch, and Cartier discontinued the Tank Solo in 2021, meaning that this is the last production of the Tank Solo Large. You cannot get your hands on these anymore. You have to go into the pre-owned market. Okay, the next watch I want to show you is the Patek Philippe Gondolo. Now, unlike Patek Philippe's sports model watches like the Aquanaut and the Nautilus, this watch is more prized by collectors for its refined style and its incredible backstory. The Gondolo traces its roots back to the early 1900s, and the name comes from Gondolo and Laburio, who were very prestigious Brazilian retailers who partnered with Patek Philippe. They had a very successful partnership, so much so that Gondolo and Laburio accounted for around a third of Patek's global watch production at that time. It was an insane partnership, and it worked partly so well due to Gondolo and Laburio's genius marketing idea, the Gondolo Gang. They created an exclusive members club where only 180 of Brazil's top elites were allowed to partake in a installment lottery where they had the chance to pay for or win a Patek Chronometro pocket watch, which was very desirable at the time but also very expensive. This gang became very known for throwing the craziest, most lavish parties, picnics, and just crazy meetups, and they would wear these huge custom straw sombreros with the words Patek written across the front. It looks bizarre, but it created the most amazing advert for Patek. Because what eventually happened is that the word Patek became so ingrained in Brazil's language at the time that the word for watch was simply replaced with the word Patek, which is incredible. And so the modern Gondolo collection is a nod to that incredible partnership and amazing story. This particular example that I would like to show you is the 5024G. This is crafted with 18 karat white gold and features a stunning salmon dial. Now, salmon dials are pretty uncommon. They're very warm toned and it's very beautifully understated. Its curved rectangular case hugs the wrist very comfortably. And this one also comes with a rare deployment clasp, which makes it particularly attractive to collectors. I just love that this watch isn't trying to stand out. It is not following any trends. No one is going to really know what this is on your wrist. Only collectors that really know about these kinds of watches will say, oh, that's a cool Patek Gondolo you have. This is one of those watches that you wear for yourself because you know how beautiful it is and you appreciate the story. And the third watch I would like to show you is this vintage Piaget Protocole, the Lapis Lazuli or Lapis Lazuli if you're American. I love this watch. So, bit of background. During the 1960s and 1970s, Piaget became very, very famous for combining very thin watch movements with ornamental stone dials. Now, before that, if you wanted a coloured dial, people would have to use lacquer or paint to create the colour. Piaget completely stirred up the watch industry by using ornamental stone dials. They came out with the lapis lazuli, tiger's eye, onyx, malachite, I think jade as well, not 100% sure. But they used natural stone, and because they used natural stone, that meant that every single dial was completely unique because no stone has the same inflections. Every single dial has different spots of colour throughout the stone. It's just beautiful. It definitely took the watch world into a different artistic level. So this one is the lapis lazuli with the deep royal blue colour, and it's flecked with tiny golden pyrite inclusions, which to me sort of resembles Van Gogh's Starry Sky painting. The case is 18 karat white gold and houses one of Piaget's ultra thin 9p movements. It's got a graph leather strap, which is in fairly good condition considering its age. But I think what's cool about these watches is just how thin it really is. Like, you have to see these watches in person to understand. The Protocole is 5mm thick. The stone dial is 1mm thick. These, and especially in an age where thick, bulky watches are what's hot right now, I think going for an ultra thin watch is so different and unique. It just stands out perfectly from the crowd. But along with that, like I said, the stone dial is 1mm thick, and that does leave it vulnerable to cracking. The Piaget stone dials are known to crack under impact, thermal shock, and also just if you don't service them, you don't keep up with it very well, they are vulnerable to cracking. So to have this watch here with me, this beautiful, uncracked, very clean lapis lazuli, I am super happy to be able to show you this. So those are my 3 watches. Which one would I pick to wear? Which one is my favourite? Probably the Piaget, the lapis lazuli. I would wear this one. Not 100% sold on the strap, but you know, you can change a strap. So I hope you enjoyed having a look at these watches. If you have any questions about them, please do leave a comment. Let me know your favourite rectangular shaped watches. And if you are looking for a watch that is not going to be chasing any trends, that is very sleek and elegant, definitely don't miss out on adding a rectangular watch to your collection. And if you enjoy videos of exploring the history behind exceptional watches, don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.